Kerry, new financial year for a lot of people, so what's involved? What should they be doing?
Well, the biggest question we're getting is what are we going to do in terms of our accounting this year? Some farmers are doing it computerised, some are doing it manual, so they're all going to have a look at whether they want to carry on doing what they're doing or actually changing their options.
How complicated is it to go from manual to computer?
It's a big step for some of them.
It'd be huge for me, I can tell you.
A lot of them think they've got the skills and they don't, so there's a whole range of questions to work through. The first thing you've got to think about is why do you actually want to change? What extra information are you looking for, or is the current option the best way of doing it? So you've got to sit down and think, well, what am I wanting to achieve? Am I just doing it because I want to make my GST easier? If so, there are some better options out there. Or is it even just a case of do you have the reliable broadband, for example, to even do the computerised option? Because a lot of them now are up in the cloud, so it's not on your computer; it's way out in the internet somewhere.
It's do.
So if you don't have the reliable broadband for a start, some options out there may not even work for you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because, I mean, you look at banking, and I fought like mad against doing computer-type banking, and now I'm in there about 4 or 5 times a day checking things or paying something. Or
yeah, and we find most farmers are the same. We've got 2, I think, out of our lot that write out cheques only doing 3 or 4 a month, if that. So accounting is going in the computerised way, and it's great for everybody because, especially us, if you've got a farm way out in the middle of nowhere and they have an issue, we can jump on our machine, have a look at theirs at the same time without having to spend all the time travelling.
Oh, right.
So they don't have to wait for us to get there. We can do it almost straight away while on the phone.
And you don't have to give them a cup of coffee.
Well, we don't mind that, but it's the delay for them. So if they ring up and they say, it's a day or so before we can get out, and it's right on GST due date, then that's a bit of a problem. Whereas if we've got it on our machine with them, we can deal with it straight away.
The other thing that would worry me, Kerry, is that you guys understand what percentages can come off what accounts that have been paid, whereas a farmer can't be expected to.
Yes, and most times out of many they just put through 100%, and it's not always the case. So we can actually give them a bit of a guide while we're there and even check their data. It's not uncommon for someone to say, I'm not quite sure what that is, I'll chuck it in suspense. And then they forget about the GST on it, and then we get to the end of the year and go, well, what is that? And they've got no idea. So we can actually work with them during the year if they're computerised as well.
I want to give you just a wee plug here because your Tritech is foolproof.
Yes, yeah, it's been around a long time and we've got a number on it.
And so people can go onto your DAA website, I guess?
Yeah, you go to our website and you'll find out more details about it. It's one of the many options that we offer in addition to the computerised software, etc.
And that can go anywhere in the country, can't it?
Yep, we've got them from Kerry down to Invercargill, so
that was your chance of a commercial, but I know that it works very well.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And it takes a lot of pressure off a lot of people because they can't know.
Yeah, exactly, and it gives us a chance to work with them, and that's what accountants want. We all want to be in there working with our farmers and making sure they're staying on track, and these sort of options allow us to do it. Yeah,
exactly, because by the time they find it themselves, it can often be too late.
Yes, yeah. 9 times out of 10, if you're manual, you've missed the opportunity to do certain things by the time we get the information in. So it's better to be ahead and trying to work with them and fix those mistakes, or even get better advantages out of what they're spending for them.
Other important thing, I guess, is that invariably the man or the partner who's getting their gumboots wet and dirty isn't the one who's doing the paperwork.
Yes, most times you'll find that person should be out on the farm just concentrating on that. They're either not interested or they just simply don't have the skills. Yeah. And the skills is the biggest thing. As accountants, we can train them, but you still have got to have a bit of common sense and know-how as well.
Yeah, well, it's just until you learn, you're dead.
Exactly.
British IRD versus New Zealand IRD.
Yes, well, we often hear IRD New Zealand's a tough organisation, they're horrible to deal with and that. The British one is actually worse. We've had reports out this week that their call centre, there was over 10 million phone calls that went straight to an answer machine. There were 7 million phone calls that they didn't answer. People gave up waiting because the call times were too long. So their government has now put £45 million into fixing their call centre chaos.
Really?
And so in New Zealand you ring up and 9 times out of 10 you sort of get some of them for 4 to 5 minutes. If you can't, you can actually schedule your own call back. So you can say, I want you to ring back at say 2:30 in the afternoon, and they'll actually call back at that time for you. So our IRD is actually pretty good.
We're leading the world in
that's the case. Yeah, we're well advanced on a lot of them. But yeah, just to think that in Britain they've got all this chaos, and you think they'd be well ahead of it, but 10 million phone calls that just went to an answer machine and never got dealt with.
Yeah, that's pretty serious, isn't it?
Yeah, and in New Zealand sometimes the phone calls will drop or things like that, or it is hard to get through, especially if it's right on a due date for filing. But even so, you can still schedule that time for someone to ring you back, and somebody will ring.
Tell you what really embarrasses me is if you're in a room full of people and you're making a phone call to someone like Telecom, and a machine asks you to explain what you want.
Yes. Now IRD do have that if you're into their contact team, so their team that goes after the troublemakers. You do have to explain as you ring up, but if you're just ringing the normal call centre, 9 times out of 10 you'll get straight through with a couple of pushes of a button sort of thing.
Yeah, because I've seriously found that IRD have been very, very helpful, and that they're really, really lovely people.
Oh, they're fantastic. They're doing everything they can, and we're actually finding now they're doing also an education type process. So they might be sending out a letter saying, look, we want to review your latest GST return, and they're coming out and we sit down with them and the client, and they're saying, oh, now did you think about claiming this? What about this? So they're actually thinking for the taxpayer as well, and actually trying to help you get a few more savings.
Which is unbelievable.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's a big change to what they used to be. It used to be, you come out and the client would sit there trembling. Now you tell them, look, don't panic, it's all good. We're here to help anyway, but they're more going to be educating you rather than sort of going after that every dollar.
Which brings me to the point, we've got a pretty tough season looming, and a communication with they through their people's accountants.
Yes, yep. We've been telling all our clients, look, if you are struggling, get in contact with us straight away, and we'll start negotiations with IRD, or even other suppliers. There's a couple of other suppliers been helping clients with and doing negotiations. So the communication is a big thing. If we don't know, we can't help, and IRD they'll bend over backwards at the moment, so you might as well take advantage.
And I guess a farmer who's got a lot of debt with different people, I mean, it's really just a case of, once again, going to the accountant and say, there's my bank manager, there's my bank account, there's my details.
Yeah, sit down, be open and honest, and say, look, here's all the bills that I owe, this is the money that I've got, and we'll go through and try and work out what your priorities are.
Even if each one of those 10 people get a percentage of their bill every month.
Most suppliers will be happy if they get a small amount every month and you're actually making an effort. The worst thing you can do is actually put your head in the sand and say, oh, I'm just going to forget about it until I get some money in, because that winds them up and then they're less likely to help you out. And if you go too long, they'll actually send out the debt collectors as well. So
yeah, and that's not going to help anybody, Kerry. Thank you very much indeed.